Good evening, everybody. How are you? How's everybody doing? I hope everybody's fine in the land of YouTube, in the land of Google, in the land of Twitter, in the land of what land? TikTok, in the land of LinkedIn, in the land of Instagram, and TV land also. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining me. I don't know if some have looked at my videos, at some of the YouTube videos that I tried to explain some things. I tried to put things into perspective, raise some questions so you can think about them and see if you're going in the right path or you got lost and you need a compass to get reoriented or look up to the sky and look for the North Star and see if you can find your way around a little bit better. Sorry about the low tech that I am, but if I'm a working guy just like many of you are. I'm a 9 to 5, and actually, I'm actually not a 9 to 5. I'm from 5 to 3, and then 3 to 9, or 3 to 8, should I say? Yeah, because I got a job and a half. So I start very early and I end up almost at this time. That's why I'm coming to you live on at 9:15 today, Tuesday, October the 13th. Today is the first day that Texas goes to vote in the primaries, and the lines were humongous. Let me report that to you guys. For those guys listening to me somewhere else in the US, you can have a perspective of how the lines were in Houston, Austin, Dallas, San Antonio, even Laredo down in the border. The lines were huge. You were looking at somebody who got there, let's say, for example, somebody got there at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. They would get to vote at 4 o'clock in the afternoon as well. So that's how long the lines were for somebody to move all the way to the opportunity to vote. Which I commend everybody and I kudos to all those that are going to vote. I hope everything is peaceful. I'll be going to vote myself probably tomorrow if I am fortunate. If not, I'll have to wait till Friday, which I have some time off from my first job. So I'll take advantage of that few hours that I have off. But nonetheless, I am here with you guys. And as you can see, I am not the teeny bopper, and I am also not the guy who has deep pockets. Not that I want to whine with you, I'm just putting it in straight in front of you. So there is no misconception. I do have the knowledge that I say I do. I have full knowledge of economics. I have full knowledge of business, entrepreneurship, international trade, international business, uh, religion, sociology. Actually, it's social anthropology, but let's call it sociology to make it easier. But, bad choices. We make choices every day, and sometimes we make bad choices. And I happen to be victims of my own choices. So that's why I'm here in the ditch, in the dump. I should have a good 401k, or I should have a good retirement, better than I have right now. But hey, I have to work. I wouldn't have to work if I would have had uh, the common sense to not be floating around and doing all kinds of crap. That today I look back and I say, damn, it's true what they say. Hindsight is 2020. You can't say that it's not correct. It's absolutely correct. So in all this great and morate things going on, I got a couple of things to mention to you guys. So I'm gonna get off the subject a little bit on leadership and regain the topic of voting. Voting is very important. It doesn't. I mean, I'm gonna say it in these terms. It doesn't matter who you're going for. What it matters is you go out and vote. That's what's important. Whether you're for one guy or the other guy, it doesn't matter. They're both old. So I don't know why people have concern that they're old. That Biden's old or Trump is old. They're both old. I mean, the only one that was in, and not that I'm in favor of him. So please, I'm throwing that disclaimer. I'm just going to use the age to exemplify that Obama was 40 years old, and both uh, Biden and Trump are both in their 70s, into their 70s, not at 70, but into their 70s, 74, 73, in that vicinity. But that's the name of the game. And we got to make the best choice. Just like I'm confessing to you, I'm giving you a part of my life that I made bad choices. That's why my retirement is such a crap. But and even though I have this knowledge, and you would say, well, he has all this knowledge. He has an MBA. He has a master's degrees in economics. Well, I have all the degrees you want, but that doesn't take away that I made bad choices. Simple as that. Bad choices don't bring good returns. It's like anything else. You got to think about it. Think about it and see if you're going to make the right choice. Don't go with the hype. I did a lot of things by the hype. Oh, I'm getting on this bandwagon and this great hype, this great thing. And look where I'm at, in the ditch. So we certainly don't want this country to go into a ditch like I am. Even though I'm working right now and I can put food on the table, I can pay the rent. I mean, I'm not in a luxury hotel. I'm not in a luxury house. I'm not. I mean, I'm in the dumps. But because I'm in the dumps, I don't wish this whole country goes to the dumps. So look closely at what people are saying. People can say many things. Let me give you an example. There's a guy that I heard that he says he's an X-22 report, something along those lines, and he talks about the dollar, and there's all these plans that Trump is going to make a spin on the plans, and he's spinning the plans and throwing it at the deep state. But he doesn't define who the deep state is. He just says the deep state, like if everybody knew what the deep state is. There's there's, there is such a thing as a deep state. I mean, and, and let me briefly tell you what a deep state is. How many of you know what a coup d'etat is? I don't know, that probably that word kind of sounds not too familiar to many of you. Coup d'etat is when they have a rebellion, and sometimes it's a low key rebellion, sometimes it's a very big rebellion, and they overthrow the government. Basically, that's what it is. It's an overthrow of the government and the existing government, and they implant a new government. So, Mr. Chavez in Venezuela did a coup d'etat. In Chile, I forgot who the general was. He did a coup d'etat, and it's well documented that the U.S. very much helped to get that coup d'etat. Pinochet, that's the name of the general. General Pinochet took over. Milton Friedman, a scholarly economist who won the Nobel Prize in economics, a faculty member, a laureate in the University of Chicago, was the economic and business advisor of Pinochet, of General Pinochet in Chile. So the U.S. influence was very much pointed right there. So the CIA had involvement, the NSA, and all 28, 27, 28 intelligence agencies were involved. Basically, the CIA was a lead agency in all this, but they had all kinds of information coming in from everywhere. So that's something that needs to be highlighted. We live in a world, we in the United States, Edward Snowden, who many of you might know, maybe you don't know. There's a movie about the guy. You can look it up in Amazon. You can look it up on YouTube. You can look it up in Netflix. I mean, you can look it up in many places. But the movie of Snowden follows through many things that many of you probably have a suspicious of, but you can't put your finger on it. That the government itself is spying on us. It is. The government itself is spying on us, spying on me, spying on you, spying on everybody and anybody, and not only here in the U.S. but around the world. It's a huge spy agency. So the other countries, they probably know this. I mean, I don't think they're alien to understanding that the U.S. has one of the giant apparatus of intelligence operations going on globally. Now, ever since World War II, the United States took the lead in this global structuring. So we come down to what's the role of Donald Trump in all this? The U.S. was a lead country who took hold of the global movement, took hold of the global leadership, took hold of the global policies. And many of the institutions that exist right now, multilateral institutions. So, what's a multilateral institution? In a quick snap definition, it's an organization that is involved in many countries. The United Nations is a clear example. Everybody heard of the United Nations. The United Nations, and there's 10,000 more. There are multilateral organizations. The International Monetary Fund, many of you probably heard of it, but everybody heard of the United Nations. So the United Nations is a multilateral organization that covers around 198 countries, give or take a country here and a country there. So that's the role of the United States. Now Trump doesn't say nothing of that. I mean, not that I'm against the guy, but he doesn't speak about all this organization. He knocks the U.S. down. He puts it down. We're going to make America great again. Well, when was it not great? I mean, it wasn't great back in 1876. But after World War I and being part of World War II, the United States, Franklin D. Roosevelt was president. And he never said, I mean, we can look at the documentation on Franklin D. Roosevelt. He never said, oh, I made America great. No, he didn't say that. Not even Eisenhower said that, who was one of the lead generals, five-star generals, who led the revolution, so to say, who led the movement, who took the direction, the leadership direction of instituting NATO, instituting, like I said, the United Nations, instituting the World Bank, and several other things. The U.S. was very much part of that creation. So I'm not going to say that development because development would make it a marginal participant. No, the U.S. was the lead builder of all these institutions, and the world knows about it. The only ones that don't know about this is you and I. Or now you and I know about it because I'm speaking about it. But how many people know about this? Go around your neighborhood, talk to your friends and family members, and everything, and say, you know what a multilateral organization is? They probably look at you like you were talking alien language. So they don't know, but we are. So we're the leaders of this, and and I'm saying all this because of that guy who speaks on that X-22 report that comes out that is very poignant towards the Trump administration, which actually I don't think the Trump administration is really doing any good for the U.S. Like Eisenhower, like Franklin D. Roosevelt, and you name several presidents out there who actually made a difference for this country to be the leader of the world. Period. Forget about the slogans. It's all the leader of the free world. No, the leader of the world. Now you have the runner up, like in the beauty pageants. Everybody knows about the beauty pageants, right? Just like the beauty pageants, there's a runner up, In case something happens to the US, well, the next one in line would be Russia. In this case, is a coin in the air between Russia in today's world, right now that I'm speaking to you. In today's world, the coin would have to be flipped between China and Russia. But I am inclined to say that Russia would be the leader on this. If something happens to the US, Russia would take the lead and China would become the next runner up. That's how this falls in play. So this guy is giving bad information. He might think he's giving good information and saying, "Oh no, the mainstream media is wrong. The main, ABC, CBS, MSNBC, CNN, all of those guys are wrong. The Wall Street Journal's wrong. The Washington Post is wrong. The New York Times. I'm the right one." That's what he says. That's a bunch of bullshit, man. That's a bunch of bullshit. But I think I know who he is. Listening to him, I think he's the guy who comes out on Golden State, which is a broadcaster of Trump. They broadcast everything that Trump does everywhere he goes. Even if he goes to the toilet, they probably broadcast that too. And then he says that he's the underground news report. He doesn't even know what underground news report is. I mean, give me a break. I don't even know if he went to journalism school in college. The way he speaks, he's a dumb shit. Sorry to use that language, but that's a very explicit way to say things. That's what he is. He's a Dumbo. All this rhetoric that he turns around, and the only reason he does all that is to please Trump. I don't know what's the big deal. I mean, I don't think he's worth pleasing anyway. He's a Dumbo himself. So, so that puts that perspective there. Now here's where I'm going with all this. So we all agree or we understand each other with respect to how the US is the leader, the global leader. Now listen to the word I'm using. The US is the global leader up to Obama. Now Obama has a lot of faults. I'm not saying he's an angel in disguise. He is not. He has a lot of faults. He made a lot of mistakes. Killing the guy for Osama bin Laden, shit, man. People kill themselves on the streets every day. Everywhere in the world, they kill somebody. What's the big deal? They clean it up. I mean, it's one down, three up, and one down again, and three more come up. So get rid of evil. It's a hard task. It's a very hard task. It's not done in 4 years. It's not done in 8 years. So, evil is evil, no matter what. The only way to get rid of evil is to kill the Satan himself. And I don't think he can do that. I don't think the Trump man can do that. He can say all the drones he wants. He can use the Space Force all he wants. He can use all the 28 intelligence organizations that we have here in the U.S. He can't kill Satan. That's beyond his capability. Totally beyond his capability. And Paula White, she is no match for Satan. She'll pee in her pants if she sees Satan. And not because Satan is some ugly drool from the cryptics. No. But she'll pee in her pants. Or she'll shit in her pants. All two together. So the US is the leader. So what happens in all this movement of World War II? And here's something that I question this guy. He comes out and he says the petrodollar. He mentioned the petrodollar. In case anybody saw his video, he'll mention the petrodollar. Here's how the sequence of money goes. So follow the money. Remember that slogan, follow the money. Everything from an individual to a country, follow the money, because that's what determines the health status of the country. Now, notice I use the word health, not wealth, not growth, not economic boom or economic dominance. I said health. A healthy country doesn't mean a booming country. It doesn't mean a poor country. It doesn't mean a weak country. It doesn't mean leadership country. It's a participant in the global structure, but it's not a weak country. It's a healthy country that takes care of its people, that takes care of itself, and the people take care of its country. That's where Trump is wrong on what I just said. So we are not a healthy country. We're a leader country, and later we'll go back to explain leadership. We're a strong country. We're a dominant country. We dominate, and it's how we've been moving. So we are perceived as an empire. That's how people see us. Some people see us here like that. Most of the people that see us as an empire are the 200 countries outside of the U.S. So those people who have traveled abroad, who are listening to my video, can empathize with me or can agree with me that people on the outside see the U.S. as an empire with a reservation of hate behind their acknowledgement that the U.S. is an empire. And let me bring back a hypothesis that I have, or a thesis that I have that I think has been proven correct in more ways than one, which is Hollywood. Hollywood is not only a supermarketer for the U.S., but it portrays the U.S. economy, meaning its political structure, its mindset. It conveys it in a very unique manner that people are attracted to the U.S. because here's where dreams are made real. Outside of the U.S., the dreams are not made real. Um, that's a matter of opinion, but for right now, let's keep the way the message is received outside of the U.S. So people want to come to the U.S. for that reason. The second reason is because we're the land of the free. At this point, I don't think very much that we are the land of the free, with the Trump man in charge and all his cronies pleasing him, the yes people. The fat boy, Pompeo, yes man. Everybody in the cabinet are yes people. So we don't know how we are. The numbers are all skewed. Labor numbers are wrong. Growth numbers are wrong. Inflation numbers are wrong. Powell in the Federal Reserve is scratching to say something reasonable, but the Trump man knocks it down. Pelosi tries to do something reasonable, but the Trump man knocks it down. And the way he says things and the way he expands and all this great and then Trump and then come and the genetics and he brings out and the horse race theory. Like what? Come on, man! Like stick to the what you're talking about. Don't bring out all kinds of crap that doesn't mean anything to anybody. What's the horse race theory? Translated is eugenics. If anybody heard of eugenics, that's what the horse theory is. And what's eugenics? The manipulation of genes. When somebody is genetically superior, which that was Hitler's main thesis. Not hypothesis, that was Hitler's main thesis. And Hitler, he wanted to put forth everything in front of him to make sure that he had the super race, the super people, gifted in more than one fashion. I mean, it was phenomenal in the way the scientists and everybody conceived that idea. If you look at theory and you analyze theory like I do, that's why I can say it's phenomenal. It's really bad. In real terms, it's bad. It's bad stuff, man. Or better known as bad shit, as the honky tonk would say. So, listening to Hank Williams, and Hank Williams, the father, and Hank Williams Jr., the son, it was a good day today. I had the opportunity to listen to both of them. I hope you guys can listen to Hank Williams and listen to Hank Williams Jr., Johnny Cash, some of those guys. Anyway, going back to this. So let's look at the petrodollar. Why was the petrodollar came to an existence? Well, let's look at this. After World War II, we were what called on the gold standard, meaning that all the money, and maybe your grandfathers or some old people like me can recall, that the money could be converted literally to gold coins, gold pieces, gold pieces of gold, ounces of gold, or actual bullions of gold, depending how much money you wanted to convert. So there was a monetary value to that gold that represented the amount of the value that we had on the dollar bill, whether it was $1, $5, etc. So we were working under the gold standard. Later on, back in 1971, there was a Bretton Woods, New Jersey. In Bretton Woods, New Hampshire. There was a big international meeting that took place, and we abandoned the gold standard and the U.S. currency. And I'm cutting up a lot. I'm putting this in a nutshell. There's a lot of little branches to go with this that explain more and gives it a bigger context. But for right now, let's stick to the basics. So the U.S. becomes again the leader, the head, because it's already the leader of the world. It's already set up a lot of institutions. It's already has the biggest economy in the world. We in the U.S. rebuilt Europe. How? By exporting tons of products, raw products, finished products. So, with that said, take it into perspective how we became the wealthiest country in the world. We actually literally rebuilt Europe. Why? Europe was all bombed out. It had nothing. You had to start from zero. So that's how the U.S. became, so powerful. But in that token, the U.S. currency, the dollar, became the reserve for countries international wise. So in the central banks of each country, the Federal Reserve is a central bank. Although it's called the Federal Reserve, its role, its main function, is to operate as a central bank to control the other banks. It's a regulator to the banks and financial institutions, with the exception of the credit union, which in a way it also is connected to the credit union world. Yet the credit union has the Credit Union Bureau in Washington D.C. that regulates them, but then the credit bureau is regulated by the Federal Reserve. So the Federal Reserve does not just crank money with the printing machine. They crank money if Congress authorizes it. But in printing money, you create a deficit. We get deeper and deeper and deeper into this hole that we might not be able to get out. Now the Trump man said he was going to clean the deficit. No, it looks like he's making it bigger. He's making the hole bigger, and we're going to end up in China because he's making the hole bigger and bigger and bigger. So the deficit is getting bigger. The policies that are coming out are not any better, are not making it better. He's going after the Affordable Care Act because he says it's crap. Well, he hasn't brought anything else out that explains why he has something better. He's saying that I got something better doesn't mean crap. Just like he says that the Affordable Care Act is crap, what he says is crap himself because he doesn't have anything. He doesn't say, well, I got this plan. I'm going to put an outline of it. Here it is, outline. Here's how everybody's going to be able to be insured. He doesn't have that. He doesn't break it down. He doesn't give you a clear explanation. ASAR, the guy who runs the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, bullshit, man. He barely speaks. He speaks with a quavering voice. Every time he speaks, his voice shakes. What kind of bullshit is all that? Sorry to say those words, but I guess everybody can understand me that way. Now there's more educated people that are hearing this video, which I apologize to them that they are probably not used to hearing all this, but I know some of these educated people and rich people that use this kind of language. Unfortunately, that I'm in the shithole, sorry to use again, doesn't mean that I don't know that I haven't been around all those people. I just made bad decisions. Just like I don't want you guys to make bad decisions and say, no, well, I'm voting for this guy because he's so great and mighty. He does all these reforms. The question you should ask yourself is, how is that helping me? That's what it is. I ask myself every day, how is all this job creation that he says, oh, we created 22 million jobs. Oh, we created 50 million jobs. Oh, we created 100 million jobs. Where are they? I haven't been able to land one. I keep putting applications on job announcements that come out, and nobody, and I haven't, oh, sorry, we have a different candidate. And a week later, there's that same job pops up. So wait a minute. You ask yourself, I applied to that job. They answered me back and said, we have a better candidate. A week and a half later passes, or 2 weeks go by, and pop, the same job comes out from the same company. What kind of game are they playing? I apply again. I get the same answer. The job disappears for 2, 3 weeks and it pops up again. Either they have a huge turnover for that job or it's really a fictitious job that it's only on paper because they're not going to hire anybody. Something that we should be worried about, and I want to put this before you, not only healthcare. Healthcare is important for all of us, for me too. But another thing that's very important for us and for our children is education. That's where the money should be going to, education. And that's where the money is not going to. Building a fence in the border of Mexico and the US is a disgrace to the US and an offense to Mexico. Mexico has always been a friend to the US. They haven't agreed in some issues, but Mexico has always stood next to the US in many ways. So think about that. It's not what Trump says it is. It's not crazy. He says one of the things that he says it just cracks me up. He says, "Oh, MS-13 people, like the government of Guatemala and Honduras and all these countries, they're sending the MS-13 to our country." I mean, if that's true, then what is he doing right now with the riots? Is he sending people to knock out stores, to put fires? I mean, that's what he's saying. If other countries, their presidents, the government has time to round up all these people and send them to the US, what tells me that he, Trump, and all his Clooney's and all his law enforcement people, he doesn't round them up and throws them out there to create havoc, create disorder, throw bricks, throw tuna cans, burn houses, burn cars, flip them over. Why? Because they're Democrat-run cities. So he's going to create disturbance, not civil disobedience, not civil disobedience. He's creating disturbance. He's creating warfare. Something that he goes up there, and a lot of innocent people are trampled over because he is sending all these ruffians, all these thugs that he likes to call thugs. He sends the thugs himself at his orders. The people from the CIA, the people from FBI, the people from inside the Justice Department. I mean, they all have all these people running around. It's not like it's a revelation. Again, I go back to Snowden. Look at the movie of Snowden, and that's only the tip of the iceberg. There's whole lot more that the U.S. is doing that makes us unsafe. Not safe, but unsafe. And that's something they don't tell us. Oh, you're safe. We're creating national security. Baloney. Creating national security for themselves, but not national security for us. We the people. We the people that work. We the people that thrive every day. Go out there and work and beat ourselves to death. And the businesses too. I give credit to the business owners. I had a business myself also at one time. I give credit to the business owners. They got to risk. They got to keep the business going. They got to, look at the payroll, how they're going to pay us. So there's a lot of things that gives headaches to the business owners once they're thriving, once they're up there in the cloud. Yeah, I mean, they can take it easy, but there's no business owner that can take it 100% easy. That's a bunch of crap because it got to be on top of things or things go down the hill. It's kind of like anything else. A farmer goes out there and plants. He's not attentive to the crop. The weeds will kill the crop, and then he has nothing. So he has to take out the weeds. He has to care for the lawn. He has to water it. Somehow, if the rain is not there, he has to find artificial watering to water the crops because he needs the crops not only to produce but to sell it, and he has some income. So those are important things that I want to communicate to you all because I feel like we are in a disservice by all the media outlets that take for granted what we don't know. And people prey on us, beginning with the politicians, beginning with Trump, they prey on us because we're ignorant, because we don't know. And when somebody like me speaks out, they don't like it. They feel, oh man, what's he saying? And, oh, he's saying something wrong. Oh, look at that. He's he's offensive. He's knocking us. That's another bunch of bullshit. Sorry to use those words, YouTube, but that's the same words they use in the honky tonk. And that's very important. That's very important that we understand where these people come from. We elect them. Why don't they represent us? Why doesn't Mitch McConnell represent Kentucky like he should? Who is he representing? 10 people? The 10 big companies of Kentucky? 15 people, including some smaller ones? Or is he representing the whole state that have to go into the coal mines and get black lung disease? And he's not representing those guys. Who knows what kind of crap Donald Trump got on him that he's being blackmailed. I'm sure he's being blackmailed. The kind of face he has, the turkey neck he has, and all his persona tells me that he is being blackmailed. So is Lindsey Graham. Lindsey Graham is being blackmailed. These guys came out to say, oh, we're going to help. But they're not helping. The Republican Party, it had its good times, like everybody else. You got good times, bad times. And like I said about myself, I make good choices, bad choices. The Republican Party has made bad choices also. And they're clinging on to Donald Trump because he's a braggadocious, because he's a bully, and because they are the ones that can back him up. So no matter what he does, they won't flip a coin. You got a guy like Ted Cruz, senator from over here from Texas. That's a shameful individual, man. I don't know if I should say that the Cuban community should kick him out, throw him back to Castro over there so he can learn a little bit of what it's like to understand the crap that he's putting everybody through. But that's important that you understand that. Ted Cruz is not a good guy. He's a bad guy. He's a greedy guy. He again, we go back to the original phrase: follow the money. Everybody's following the money. The country follows the money. So we walked away from the gold standard, and now we are moving into what is called a fiat system, like a fiat, like the car fiat. We're in the fiat system, which means we have a floating currency. We abandoned the dollar being the reserve for the countries. It's still a reserve currency, but it's a floating currency. So that means it fluctuates. And all the other countries fluctuate along with it. So between the fluctuations of all the countries, currency, and the dollar is running a risk. Why? Why is the dollar running a risk? And here's where things get a little bit eerie. The dollar is running a risk because the dollar could fall down. Doesn't mean it's going to be devaluated. It's going to lose its status of being the world currency. And somebody else is going to pop up and say, I am now the world currency. So when you say when I say follow the money, that's exactly right. Follow the money. Money means investment. Money means currency that you use to buy and sell. Money means that you hold a pocket full of assets and wealth. But if you transfer that money and change it, I was going to use revolutionize, change it into another type of currency that will replace it, the value that it holds will diminish as a reserve currency. And reserve means that you have X amount of dollars in your currency. So let's let's use an example on that one because it might be too technical for you guys. So let's say somebody out there, and let's say somebody in Kansas, and let's say Kansas is a country, the country of Kansas, and they got a currency, the Kansas currency, and I'm in the United States and I have the dollar currency, but their currency is weak, and I have a strong currency which they can use to value their own currency. So they have, let's say, $15 million, or let's say they have $1 billion in their bank. They can now value their currency, put a value to their currency that is backed, that is represents that amount of dollars that are in their bank. So they can circulate the money saying the Kansas currency is 5 Kansas dollars for $1 US. So that's what it means by being a reserve currency. It makes the other one be valued in that form. But when you take that away and it loses and says, well, my currency will no longer be used. We will have the dollars for a backup currency. I'm going to use somebody else's. I'm going to use the European dollar or the euro. Well, then what happens to the dollar? The dollar is replaced and the dollar gets weak and it loses its status. And now it's no longer that currency that can be put into play for greater investments, not only in the capital markets, but in the commodity markets and in the physical markets. You understand how this goes? It's a complicated issue, but that's how countries are put together. And the petrodollar that this guy mentioned in the X22 report is nothing more than a currency that was denominated for a treaty or an agreement that was signed between the OPEC and the U.S., where they were going to denominate the production of oil against the dollar. So it's going to be a dollar denominated barrel of oil. Simple as that. No big deal. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I will let you go because I gotta go. And I will see you maybe tomorrow, the day after tomorrow. You all take care. God bless you.